हाय गाइस व्हाट्स अप। कैसे कैसे हो सब? आवाज़ आ रही है मेरी? ओबीएस स्टूडियो में दिक्कत आ रही है क्या? लुक्स फाइन। Am I audible? Yes, I am audible. Hi Gaurav, I'm good. I'm good. So I recorded that 5 hour demo, right? But for some reason the audio didn't get recorded. I'll show you guys the thing that I recorded. So this was in It was in this one, this Android Java thing. So I recorded it in three parts, broke it down into three parts. And if you look at part one, then this was it. Sudo apt install default JRE and things like
So
that. But before installing, hit this, and later on you can see that the audio is gone. So even if I say something, there's no audio in this particular video. And it got wasted, although I mean by the end of it it was recording fine.
where did it
So
go?
here if I say something, then it was coming up, but still I
Load
mean
my
since
code into
half
that
of the video,
repository.
right, so the readme is there, and since half of the video got wasted, then I thought that I was like kind of confused what to do about this entire situation. I mean, uh, my 5 hours of thing got wasted. So someone suggested that you do live stream, and I thought that it only makes sense that I do live streams for this because, I mean, since this is learned by doing, and a lot of people, question your authenticity as well, stating that you're editing the video, so you might have researched something that you didn't show in the video and things like that. I think that live streams is a good idea, although I mean this type of coding live stream is something that I haven't done before earlier, but I'm pretty like excited about it, and I think that it's going to be a good way to continue the series going forward. So in today's stream, I mean, since we don't have the contact list application anymore, we are going to build something with Java, a basic introductory sort of an application. I want you guys to provide me with some suggestions on what to build for an Android application with Java. Kaustov asks that what will we make today? So, I mean, you guys can suggest me what should I build. An Android application shouldn't be very complicated with a lot of features. Let's just keep it simple. Umesh asks that I'm completely a beginner. Can I start from here? So, I mean, this video is about how to learn, right? How to build, how to learn stuff while building something, learn by doing, right? So I'm not going to teach Java per se. I'm still learning myself. I'll learn Java myself. Uh, Not website clones. I want something that has to do with an Android application. So yesterday I attempted a contact application. I can build the same thing. I don't have its code or anything like that. So I can build the same thing, or I can build something similar to it, like a to-do app or something like that. Super Mario Bros on Android, bro. No, not going to happen. Web Bootcamp videos are uploaded. I last uploaded the Bootstrap video. This week I'm going to upload a couple of videos on CSS and then building the website, our Virtual Tech School's website. Uh, please build something similar to it, not that exactly. So let's do one thing. I think we should build a simple to-do application, right? Let's add some functionalities to it and build a to-do application, right? So, I mean, before we begin, I would like to do one thing, and that is to open my Xkelly draw, right? Let's just plan out what we want to do, right? Let's just take a look at these steps on how to learn by doing. Now, again, I mean, this video is a continuation of how to learn by doing video, where I'm going to demonstrate what I did in my last video. So if you didn't watch that video that I uploaded yesterday, then the stream would remain on YouTube. So go back to that video, watch it first, and then come back. And if you have watched that video, also, I mean, since I uploaded that video yesterday, how did you guys find that video? Did you guys get to learn something out of that video, something like that? While you tell me how you liked yesterday's video, so let's take a look at these points again. The first thing is to start with a clear goal and choose a project, right? Can I follow along with Kotlin? Yes, you can follow along in Kotlin as well, depends on you. And so start with a clear goal. So the clear goal right now is to become an Android developer. I mean, not for me, but whoever is, you know, let's say aspiring to become an Android developer, it could be a clear goal to become an Android developer. If not, then it could be a clear goal to, start some freelancing, something like that. For choosing a project, I mean, for today's application, we are going to choose a to-do application, right, which runs completely on the local system, no database, nothing like that. Right. So that part is done. Now research and gather information about the project and the tech stack, right? So I'm just going to quickly walk you through what I did yesterday with my that Java application that I was trying to build. So Manu says that not yet watched finished Bootstrap video just now. So I recommend Manu that you go and watch that video first. It will remain on YouTube so you can come back and watch it again later. Uh, My PC cannot handle Android Studio. What can I do? Well, I mean, it is a requirement. I am not aware of any options as to how to build something without the Android Studio to do application, right? So, I'll just quickly walk you through what I did yesterday, right? So, I mean, this was the basic structure that I created for that, but we are going to need to change this. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this thing, right? And let's just paste it here, right? And let's make some changes, right? So steps to create an Android application. First, we need to set up the Android project, right? It's a very first basic step for anyone, any beginner who hasn't built any Android application before. Setting up the Android project is the first basic thing they need to do. Then you might want to display a text on the screen, right? Let's also like side by side write down the features that we want in this application, right? So again, I'm going to create one more copy of this, right? And let's write down the features that we want in this application. Features, right? So basically it is going to have two screens, right? So it is going to have two screens, right? And talking about the first screen, this will display the list of tasks added in the to-do application with a checkbox, right? So this is our first screen, right? And the second screen that can be there would be a form to create that to do, right? Second screen could be a form to create a to do entry, right? So these are the two features that we need, right? Two basic features that we need. Let's remove all of this out of this. Right, so two basic features, first screen and second screen. It's going to have two screens and some buttons, right, based on the functionality. Now, first, what we want to do is, right, I mean, let's just also get rid of these steps for now as well, Right. So the first thing that we want to do while creating an Android application is going to be to set up the Android project and display Hello World in the screen, right? So for that, I need to start my Android Studio right now, right? So I'm going to open up my Android Studio. Um, it should be inside Downloads and then Android Studio. Right. Now inside Android Studio, I mean, if you take a look at the steps that were mentioned above for learn by doing, then the second part comes about research and gather information about the project and tech stack. So what I did yesterday for this one was that I didn't even have Java installed in my system earlier, but currently, I mean, I have Java installed since I built it yesterday, right? So if I do a Java version, then I can see that my Java is installed. Again, for installing Java, you can do a this one sudo apt install and then default -jre. So this was the command to install Java. This is the first thing that I did, right? And the second was to install Android Studio in my system, right? So for installing Android Studio, I went to the browser and I went to their website and I downloaded this one, download Android Studio Electric Eel, right? And this created a thing here, right? Uh, this created a thing here which was um, there was a tar file that was there, right? And I extracted the Android Studio directory out of it, right? So this happened then, and then if I go into the bin directory, right, I can see that inside the bin directory you have a file. Which file was it? Eh, It was something called Linux install Linux TAR, right? Um, it's not here, but it was in the main one, right? So if I go back here, then I can find it here. So let's just open that install Linux tar.txt. So it says that first you need to unpack the tar file that was there. Then to start the application, open the console cd into the slash bin directory in the Android Studio and then do the this one dot slash and then studio.sh, right? So that's exactly what we are going to do. We are going to navigate into the bin directory and we are going to do the studio.sh. And if I press enter here now, then my Android Studio starts up, right? It's loading some components for the contact list application, but as I told you, the contact list application doesn't exist anymore because I deleted it, right? If you go inside the app, if you go in the main and check out, then there's nothing here inside the main, no src, nothing, right? So let's just create a new project, right? And I mean, I wasn't aware about this thing that Android Studio provides you with some templates as well for maps activity or full screen activity, whatever it is. But I just selected the basic activity template, right? Nothing more than that. So can select the basic activity. We want this to run in phone and tablets, right? Going to do next, and I'm going to name this as my to do, right? To do Android. Right. I don't need to change any of this. The last version it would run on would be 7.0 Android Nougat. So that's also fine. Let's finish this up. And now our project is getting created here. Right. So this is our to do Android. Yeah, this one. So now you can see that the Gradle is building something for the time being. So let's just wait for the Gradle to finish building, and then I'll quickly tell you how I navigated through, you know, how I navigated through my initial template that came up yesterday, right? I mean, I cannot recreate uh, the thing when I didn't knew anything about it because I spent 4 5 hours yesterday on this shooting that video. So obviously, I mean, I'm aware about a few things this time, right? But I'm still going to walk you through the process that came yesterday, right? So till then, let's read the comments. I will be using Learn by Doing way to create my web portfolio. Yes, so I think that's one of the great things about, learning this thing. I have this available device already. I'm not sure if I can uninstall this right now. But yeah, so I mean, this was the interface that I came across yesterday with some imports as well, right? And now the first thing that was important for me was that I got this template code, right? But I don't know exactly what it does, right? So for that, here it was showing me that I mean, I have no device available, so I installed an ADV, which is uh, virtual Android device, something like that, right? And I installed a Google Pixel 6 Pro, right? So I can simply select this here since I already have it installed. If you don't have it installed, then I must have did a simple Google search, install ADV, install virtual device in Android Studio, something like this. Yeah, so you come across this blog, which tells you that you can, go and check your virtual device manager and select, whatever device you want, how to install. So it contains all the instructions. I followed these instructions to install the device. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to see what this code is doing in this template code is doing in a mobile screen. So I'm going to build this up. So this here makes the project, it builds the project, right? And again, I mean, I was aware about this even in yesterday's video because that's how, IDE works, right? Whenever you're using something that needs to build, there are, buttons that builds the project through the IDE itself. So this was something that I was already aware about. Do you know anything about Android app development previously or learning now? So, I mean, I have a basic idea about Android development, as I said. Uh, and the only reason why I have that basic idea is because I attempted it yesterday, but before that I had no exposure. So I'm just walking you through how I navigated through the application, and then I'm going to start building it, right? So now, I mean, once it is completed, then there's this play button which runs the application, right? It is currently running my yesterday's contact list application, but this is the basic thing, right? So I mean, if you look at the screen, then you would see that I am seeing these first fragments, right? Which is with this top bar. I don't know what this is called yet, and this it has a button called settings. Then it has some text called hello first fragment. It has this floating button at the bottom, which I think you cannot see the entire thing, right? So I'll just uh, open it separately. Okay, so now, I mean, in this, it has this floating button. If I click on it, it gives me a pop-up message, replace with your own action. And if I click on next, then you can see that a second fragment screen is opening up. And if I go to previous, then again, I mean, it shows me the first fragment, right? So now I can see that it has opened the main activity.java file for me. And I can see that there's a Java file for my first fragment.java and a Java file for my second fragment.java as well. So now, I mean, once this was done, the first question in my mind, right? I mean, once I was exploring this yesterday, and where did that emulator go, right? So this is the emulator. So the first question in my mind was that I, spent a good decent amount of time looking at these Java files, right? And I saw that the emulator is showing this thing, hello first fragment, right? And I assumed that this hello first fragment would be available in this file. So I control left this entire term, hello first fragment, something like that. Now, once I tried to find it, once I tried to search about it, I realized that this file does not contain this hello first fragment, right? So what I naturally did was I did a control shift F, right, to find in the entire project. And finding in the entire project, I came across a file which is called string.xml, right? Now this file, I mean, it was very interesting for me when I took a look at this file, and here I can clearly see that the text prompts that I was seeing in my emulator, again, I mean, if I open the emulator, then the text prompts I'm seeing, which says, things like first fragment at the top bar, which is written here, right? Then second fragment in the second screen stop bar, then the text on the button next and previous, right? And then this hello first fragment and something like that. So I realized that the strings.xml is something that is of value, right? I mean, whatever strings I need to display in my front end, I need to first add it here. And since this is more or less, I mean, an HTML syntax, then I realized that since these are string tags, right, and they have an attribute called name, right, so this name must be something which is used as an identifier for that particular string, right? The IDs in HTML that we usually talk about, right? So the first thing that I obviously wanted to do was to change this text and change this to hello world, right? And this hello world I've added here, I'm going to again, play this thing. So here on the top, you see this run app button. If I click on this, you can see that on the emulator, uh, it is again, launching this, but this time instead of that text, it is showing me this hello world, right? So I am successfully able to display my hello world, right? Now, I think up until now, how I navigated through the application yesterday is clear, right? If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. .xml must be like a descriptor. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, all the variables that are there, even things like colors and stuff are mentioned in .xml files. So I think that they, you know, are a descriptor of some sort. And can we build a whole mobile application with the help of Java itself? Well, I'm not sure if you can do that because Java for Android application XML is used. That is something that I was aware about even before, attempting the yesterday's application. So I'm not sure if there's any other way. But if someone is watching this video who knows, uh, a way where you can create an application just with the help of Java, then feel free to share. Right. I mean, I'm open to suggestions right now. I'm learning with you guys, right? So I'm open to suggestions. It's not like I'm teaching right now or I'm the expert. I don't know shit about Java, right? So I mean it, right? So now we have these two steps completed, right? We have our step one completed, which is to set up the Android project and then to display the hello world screen, right? So we have our basic, Android application in front of us, right? Now the first thing that I would want to do is if I again now let's say take a look at the emulator that is there in front of my screen, then I can see that it has this floating button that is here, right? So what I want to do is naturally, I mean, what I want to do is the first thing is that I'm not a I'm not a person who believes in white colors and white backgrounds and things like that. So I want this application to have a dark theme, right? I don't want these light colors to be there, right? So now, I mean, looking at this project, there are two things that I want to do, right? Let me minimize this, right? So I'm just going to quickly copy this up, right, and paste it somewhere here. So let's just change this text to next steps, right? And the first thing that I want to do is to change the colors to make it dark themed. Right, this is the first thing that I want to do. And the second thing that I want to do here is that here we have this button, right? Here we have this add text, add next button that is there, right? Which is taking us to the previous screen, right? So what I naturally want to do is I want to get rid of this floating icon because I don't need this floating icon for anything, right? So the next thing is to get rid of the floating icon, right? And the next thing is that I want to change the text of this button, right? The functionality it is doing to navigate me to the next screen. Or I mean, let's be open to suggestions right now, right? So, uh, suggest me something. Right, suggest me something. I have this, interface emulator in front of me. Do you want me to use this button that already navigates me to the next screen, or do you want me to use this floating button as a navigator to the second screen where I'm going to create a form? Which button do you want me to, uh, add the functionality to of navigating? And whatever you suggest, I'm going to do. Right. Let's let's use the floating button. Okay, so everyone wants to use the floating button. Is that it? Let's start with adding a button to change a theme. Well, this looks like an interesting idea. So let's forget about the buttons. Let's just focus on the theme, right? So this looks like a good idea. So let me get rid of this. So change the colors to make it dark themed. I'll remove this as well. So I'll do this. Introduce a toggle to change the theme. Right, something like that. Introduce a toggle to change the theme. Right, so let's do one thing. Uh, okay, so let's do this. Introduce a toggle to change the theme, right? Something like this. I think it will be a good exercise. I didn't try to change the theme or create a toggle yesterday, so let's do that. Right. So now, the first thing that I would, naturally want to do is, I want to explore the file structure of this thing because currently I just see Java here, right? And I can see that inside my app, inside my src, inside my main, I have my Java, right? And inside Java, I have these things, but you can see that for strings.xml, inside the main, it is going into the res directory, which means something, right? So let's go into the res directory, right? Inside the res directory, we see that, there are a lot of things here, and particularly where the strings.xml is mentioned, it is mentioned in it is mentioned inside values. So we go to values and then we see this string.xml, right? String.xml. So this is good, right? And then we have this, this these colors that are mentioned as well, different shades of purple, teal, black, and white, right? Something like that. And yeah, so inside this values, there's a theme as well, which says themes.xml for, I think this is the light theme, and then this is the dark theme that is there, right? So now the main thing is how do, you toggle between the themes. So I'm not sure how to do that. The first thing that we want to do is we want to create a toggle button that is there. So toggle button in Android Studio. Okay, so it has given us some code for toggle button. Can we see if this toggle button is available on Android side as well? So this is okay. So toggle button, I mean, this is a function in Java, I think, which is, you know, setting the conditions, right? So this is a function in backend which is setting some conditions, but we want it in the XML, right? So toggle button in XML, Android Studio, Android application. So we want something on the front end side of it. Okay, so there's this something called a toggle button which we can basically use, right? So let's do this toggle button. Let me copy this, and now if you come back to our emulator, then the first thing that I would want to do is in the strings.xml we saw that this hello world string is being used. So now we need to see which file is using this hello underscore first underscore fragment, right? So I'm again going to copy this. I'm again going to find this hello first fragment, and I can see that in my strings.xml it is being used, and then in my first fragment underscore first.xml it is being used, which is my this file, right? It is initializing something. So one funny thing that I'll tell you about is that yesterday I got stuck here, right? I mean, I didn't know how to see the code that is there. It is showing me this, interface where I can, move this here and there, do something about it and things like that. But it is not really telling me, how to see the code. So then I, came across this button which will switch me to the code that I want to see, right? So so yeah, I mean, this is the text view, and this text view here is using the hello first fragment, and then it is having this button as well. So we can assume that this first underscore fragment dot XML file that is there, this is the file that is, basically, rendering our text and the button, right? So let's take a look at the path as well. You can see that in the res directory there's a layout, and inside layout there is this first and fragment underscore first dot xml, right? So if I go into the layout here, now I can see that I have four xml files that are there, right? The activity main dot xml, the content main dot xml, the fragment first dot xml, and the fragment second dot xml. So I think this activity main is the main wrapper that is there, right? Because here, I mean, we are creating a layout first, right? So we are creating a layout first, and then inside it we are having an app bar layout, right? So and then we are having a toolbar. Now I am not sure what this I'm not sure exactly what this app bar layout and stuff is, but it also contains this floating action button that is there. So we know that our floating action button is in our activity underscore main dot xml, right? And it also includes a file which says content underscore main, right? Which must be referencing to this file, right? Content main dot xml. And inside content main dot xml you can see that uh, it contains something called a fragment, right? And I'm not sure exactly what this fragment is at this point of time. If we remove this, right, and then try to run the application, what happens? We get an error, right? Okay, so that was like a nav controller. It used to control the navigation. Let's just add that back. It used to control which screen to display, right? So this is our main thing. Okay, so I guess the main structure is something like this. We have the first activity main.xml, right? Let's draw that out instead of discussing, right? So I guess the main structure is something like this. You first have a an activity main.xml. I'm going to call this am, right, which has a bar, and this bar is this one. So if we take a look at activity main.xml, then we can see that it has this app bar layout that is there, inside which there's a toolbar. So I'm assuming that this bar is like this one, the first fragment, and then opening this, it says setting. And a way to validate this is going to be that way to validate is going to be that the first fragment that is in the string here, let's just see where this label is being used, first underscore fragment underscore label, right? So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. So it's going to it's getting used in the navgraph.xml. Okay, and inside this navgraph we are creating this fragment, right? So this was the fragment that was coming up in the second layer, which was our content main, right? So I guess the toolbar that is still there, I'm still not like sure about what this app bar layout is. So let's remove this and see what happens to our application now. In the main activity.java, it is saying that there's an error on line number 33, right? So let's go to our main activity.java, right? And in line number 33, let's just comment this thing for now. I mean, I just want to see what that toolbar does. Why is it not running the application? Okay, so it says that there's another error, and this error, it doesn't tells us the line number where this error is coming up, but set support action bar is a function, I guess. Apparently, this is the function that, uh, anyways, never mind. I mean, we don't have to get stuck on these basic things, especially when we are starting out, right? So let's just add that back. Let's just add that back, right? And in our main activity, let's just uncomment this again, right? Let's not waste time here. If I run this again, then this time it should run fine. I mean, as you guys can see, it looks like I don't know Java, right? I literally don't know Java, nor do I know Android or stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is all new to me right now. So again, we came back to the application, right? Now, what we were doing was we were adding our this thing. We are adding a toggle button that was there, right? So for the toggle button again, I think I'm going to go to my nav graph here, and here you can see that it is displaying this fragment, right? And there was also, I think if I look at the emulator in these buttons, there was something called settings, right? So this settings is also there in strings.xml. There's something called as settings, which is action settings, right? So let's just find this where this action settings is, right? It is there in main activity.java, so that must be our backend. And then it is in menu main.xml, right? So in menu main.xml, we have an item which is using id action settings, and okay, so this name is getting used as an id here in the item, right? So menu main, inside main menu we want to add a toggle bar, right? So add a toggle button. What was it? In the main menu. In main menu, Android, Java. So we got a blog how to Stack Overflow answer how to add toggle button in menu item in Android. Right. So let's take a look at here. And they have used a title called switch, right, with a widget. Right. So let's just copy this. Let's add another, or let's replace this. We don't need the settings. Let's replace this and let's play this. Let's see what happens to our emulator. We got an error which says that in main activity.java, this in line number 63, some function is required no more because we deleted that settings, right? So line number 63, this return true is something that we don't need anymore. Let's comment it and let's build it again. Right, and now we have a toggle button, right? So can we add a text as well to the toggle button or something? If we, let's say, add a title, add an ID like it's given above, at the rate plus ID slash action toggle, right? Something like that. And then we can create an action toggle in the strings.xml, right? So in strings.xml, we are going to create, you're going to copy this, paste this, and action toggle is going to be the ID, right? And we are going to call this dark theme, right? Let's just build this, see what happens this time. It doesn't do anything. It has created an ID, but it's not displaying the text. Uh, what should I do? Should I fight a little bit more to add the text or what? Let's try a little bit more. So what was that? Stack Overflow, right? Okay, so let's let's try a workaround, right? Let's try a jugaad, right? So we are going to try to. So in the main menu, let's again get back the settings that were there, and let's change the, you know, this string of action settings and set that as dark theme, right? So let's change this to this. Now, one thing that you would notice is that there's no single line of code that I'm directly just removing, but the most I'm doing is I'm just making comments, right? So the boilerplate code that I got, I'm not removing anything out of it because I might need it later for reference or something like that, but I'm simply just uh, commenting it out, right? So now the option says dark theme, but the toggle is coming here. Okay, okay, okay. So our workaround totally failed, right? Let's get rid of this again. We don't need this. And I think instead of displaying first fragment there, let's just change this to to-dos and this to add to-dos. Let's just place this. Let's fight for the text. Okay, we are going to fight for the text now. Display text in uh, menu toggle button and Android Java. Yes, so this is exactly what we want. And okay, so this is a like answer that we got. You can create a custom menu layout that has a switch and a text view of its description. Layout slash menu layout.xml. So let's see if we have that file first. Layout and then menu layout.xml. Okay, so it says that we can create a new layout, right? Let's create a new layout. Wait, the name of the new layout is going to be menu underscore layout.xml, right? So we can create a new file saying layout underscore main.xml, right? And let's just save this, go to the code, and inside the code, here we can just create this thing. This answer is latest. It was written in 2020, so I think that it must be using the latest things that are there, right? Let's save this and see if our application is breaking or not yet. Although we haven't included this file anywhere, so it shouldn't break at this point of time. But we, I think it didn't break, right? So the next step is to then utilize the app action layout attribute to the menu item and attach the custom menu, right? So inside the menu, then we can, create this item, right? So now going back to the menu main.xml, what we are doing is, or wait, before even we do that, let's just load the earlier one as well, and then let's do this. So here what is happening, let's try to understand what is happening here. So it has Android ID, right? It has ID, it has order in category, so that must be something related to the ordering of the things. It has a title, so in the new one that we are getting, it has an ID, it has a title, and it has an action layout. So I think this action layout is selecting the new layout that we have created, right, which is our menu layout, menu underscore layout, and shows us action is always, right? So it is always showing it as an action or something like that. So let's get rid of this now, right? And in the ID, we are going to again enter action underscore toggle. right? And or earlier it was switch item, right? So let's just let it be switch item. We don't need to change that as well, right? So let's save this. Let's go to our string.xml and we don't need our action settings. We need the action settings, right? We don't need the action settings. We removed it. So let's I think I was getting an error there, right? Of some sort. This is throwing an error right now. So what is cannot resolve at the rate layout and then menu layout because it should have been layout underscore main, right? So now let's run the application, see if our problem is resolved. Yes, yes, Sarthak, yes, got it. So let's see the result this time. We are still getting a toggle, but we are not getting the text again. Has it even restarted the application? Let's restart the application, see what happens. Okay, so it's still not using our layout main. Why is it not using our layout main now? This is a linear layout and vertical orientation. Let's see what else he said. Uh, okay, is it like we haven't set the text initially or something like that? Let's check out our layout main again. Let's minimize this, minimize this. Inside the layout main, now in the text view that is there, we haven't added a text or the text is off right now or the color is white. So the color needs to be black for now, right? And now let's try to run this up. So I think the text was appearing, but it was appearing in white and it wasn't visible because of that. But it's still not appearing for some reason. Um, Switch text. Let me go to my fragment first here. So here in the text view, we are displaying the string here. So again, we are going to do the same thing there. Let's create the string there itself. Or let's just change it here. Let's call it dark theme 12 dp. The text is still not coming up. Are we missing something? Are we missing something? switch compat, then a text view. This is linear layout, right? This is linear layout that is there. And then in the menu, we are first setting our menu settings. Then we are setting the item, and in the item, we are setting the action layout as well. So the only problem that is coming up right now is that we are not able to see the text that is there, right? Now, fragment first, if I go into this and I copy this and I paste it here with all the things that are written. Okay, so the last things weren't supposed to be there. The constraints weren't supposed to be there. Why is it not taking? Why is it showing that the app is an error? Because we haven't set the app. Is that it? Let's copy this. Okay, now the error has gone. Let's run this again. And the text is still not visible. Okay, not going to be this switch item switch. If I remove the switch from here, then is the switch visible? And if I comment this line, not comment, let's just remove this. Is it visible still, the switch? Okay, so now it is displaying the text, but it is displaying the text in white, right? Which is a big problem. So I guess the color is the issue here. This is our second fragment, and let's take a look at our fragment first. Fragment first, we need to add a color to that, right? So let's just add a color. It should be something like Android text color, right? And we want the text color to be at the red color and then black, right? Let's run this again. Hopefully this time. Okay, and if I remove this and run this again and remove this as well, then I'm getting the text. Okay, so I think that I got the problem. Now I finally understand what the problem is. So the problem is that this to-dos that we are displaying, right? This to-dos that we are displaying, we need to, we are basically aligning it vertically, right? We are basically aligning it vertically. So I think that if I remove this, so by vertical orientation, it means that it is displaying. Okay, so the vertical orientation that is there, right? It says that this linear layout is currently having vertical orientation. So vertical, I think, should mean something like this. Let's say this is my screen. So it is doing a vertical orientation, right? First this is your first, then this is your second, this is your third, right? And we want something like this, right? Because the thing is that this purple bar that you see where the to do's is written, right? This is my hypothesis right now, but the thing is that here's some text written and here's this, the button that we want to see, the toggle button, right? And this bar does not have any space below it. It is only taking this much amount of height, right? So this text is getting displayed, but since I mean this bar does not have enough space, it is going, it is just uh, what do you call that, overflowing, right, in terms of CSS. So what we should do is we should remove this vertical, right? So by default it is going to be horizontal, I guess. This and this, and we should move the text view above this, right? Something like this. So now if I run this, hopefully, yes. So you can see that now the text is coming up, right? This hello world is coming up. Now instead of hello world, we want to do what? We want to change the text of it. So currently it says hello world fragment, but we want it to be um, we want this to be dark theme, right? So the text is now going to display dark theme there, and we want the color of it for the time being to be white, right? And now if I rerun this, then it is displaying in, okay, so we got it, right? We finally got it. Okay, so now that we have our toggle button, the next thing that we want to do is we want to toggle between the themes, right? That is the next thing that we want to do. So if I again go into my menu main, or not menu main, where is this themes.xml being used? Let's check that. Themes.xml. It must be used somewhere, right? Nothing found. Where is this color primary being used? It is used in themes, it is used in themes, and it is used in themes. Why only in themes? Okay, so here they are using this variable color purple 500, right? And then we have the colors here. Okay, got it. So I guess if we go into the navigation in the navgraph.xml, then where is that themes being used? At the rate themes. Themes is not getting used anywhere. Let's just Google this up. We need to find this theme.appcompat or something like that. We need to find where this is in the code. Theme. Styles.xml. Minimap menu. Here it is. At the rate style and then theme dot to android dot to do android dot app bar overlay. Okay, we were searching in directory up until now. What is this Android manifest.xml? Is it setting the parent theme or what? Okay, so it is setting it here. Style theme dot to do Android. Right. So I guess this theme dot to do Android is this name here, and this one is also theme dot to do Android. Where is this file? This is in main. Android manifest.xml. So this is the main file, I guess. The main file with the theme that is written here. And what do you want to do? Want to go into res, we want to go into the values, we want to go into the themes. So assuming that this is our light theme, let's create one more because I don't see any differences in these two. Right, so let's create one more of this style, right? And to do Android, and let's call this theme dark, right? And this time the color primary color is purple 500 right now. This is purple 700, right? So purple 500, if you're using a dark theme, then I guess we should use a lighter shade of gray or something like that. So let's go to a color picker and choose a relatively lighter shade of gray, something like this. So instead of purple 500, let's call it gray 500, right? And in our colors.xml, let's say that these are the colors for light theme, right? And similarly, we want some colors for our dark theme as well, right? So we are going to do a color name and we are going to call this gray 500, right? And let's just add the value here with a hashtag, right? So that's our light gray. Then let's create a purple 700 as well, which we are going to call gray 700. So let's choose a darker shade of gray this time, something like this, right? And this is done, right? We have our light shade, we have our dark shade, and what else do we want to do, right? What else do we need in that? So gray and then gray. So instead of purple, now it is going to display gray. Then color on primary. This is going to be black, right? I mean, we don't want it to be white, we want it to be black, right? And so color black and white, I guess, are going to be common ones. So in our colors.xml, let's just take these black and white out of here and create one more category of common colors, right? And let's paste them here. Okay. So now this is going to be our black color primary. Then we have teal, and then color on secondary. This was black, so let's make it white because we are reversing it. And yeah, so we just need to replace the teal color. This is the light teal color and this is the dark teal color. I think before the click and after the click of the button it is. So before click it is light. If I click on it, it becomes dark for a second, right? So let's just do this thing. For what color should I choose for this one? Instead of teal, any ideas? What color should I choose? Let's choose yellow. So light yellow. Let's change this to yellow and yellow. Right. And in the colors, we are going to add a teal 200 and teal 700 as well. So color name yellow, it was 200, right? 200, which will have this color, and then we will add another color called yellow 700 this time, and we are going to give it a bit darker shade of yellow, right? Something like this, mustard color sort of a thing. Right. So now we have created our dark theme. Let's test this out. Right. So for testing in the Android manifest, I'm just going to add a, what was it? I'm just going to add a dark to my name and see if the theme of my app changes. Right. So I added a dark. Let's rerun this thing. Okay. So that didn't work out. Theme.todo Android dark, and we set it here. Theme is equal to theme.todo Android dark. So I mean it is displaying the colors here that are being used, but why is it not reflecting in the application? Why is it not reflecting in the application? They were doing something similar here, right? In the colors.xml they added their colors first. This answer is not even marked as, okay, then they have the styles.xml where they are adding a style base action theme. I think this is something that we need to do. Instead of changing it there, I think our entire approach was wrong up until now. This is something that we need to do. So we want to find the switch button in our thing first. So we are talking about, we added the switch button in our navigation bar, which is going to be on all screens, right? So I think that in our Java, in our main activity, right? Our main activity, um, it says switch button dot set on click listener. Okay. So we first need to identify what our switch button is. So in the on create this thing, we need to identify our switch button, right? And our switch button is a what? Our switch button, activity main, uh, layout main. So our switch button was a switch compat, right? So we need to import a switch compat there. So we are in the main activity, we are going to write switch compat, and this is going to be a switch button is equal to switch compat. Now this is a syntax that I learned yesterday, right? So don't freak out. Dot find switch button, switch compat r dot id dot, and now I need to enter the ID of my button, right? So the ID of my button, where was my button again? It was here, and the ID was menu underscore switch, right? So let's go back to our main activity. Let's write menu dot switch, and I think this is it, right? It says that it has an error, this line. Cannot cast int to Android X compat widget switch compat. So it thinks that this is an int. Right. Let's run the see the error, what the error is. Let's just copy this error and Google it. What is this guy doing here? It is doing a dot find item. So now I think illegal parentheses expression switch compat. Should I remove this? So it says that now this find item does not exist. Switch compat dot find switch compat in Java. Find view by ID should have been the, not find item. So find view by ID, right? Something like that. And instead of switch compat, let's just do a switch here, right? And let's import switch, right? And we have imported switch. Now in our layout main, let's change the switch compat to just a simple switch. It should have been a switch compat only. Okay, let's run this. Let's see the error. Illegal parentheses expression. Let's just Google this. What does this mean? When a variable is implicitly declared with a suffix character, all subsequent references must contain. Let's just read on Stack Overflow. Okay, so is it saying that I should have wrapped this entire thing in parentheses? Nope. If I remove the parentheses and then do a, okay, so I think I shouldn't have added a dot. Was that the entire thing? Sh- Okay, so now we have the switch button. The next thing that we want to do is take the switch button and add a on change to it like we saw in one of the answers. So set on click listener, right? Let's just copy that thing. Then is night mode on? Create a local variable is night mode on. So where is he creating the local variable? Is it saying that I have to create a local variable of a boolean? Boolean is night mode on is equal to boolean dot true, boolean dot false. So now is night mode on is resolved. Now app compat delegate cannot resolve symbol app. So I need to import this, I guess. So let's import this. That is resolved. Now instead of this switch underscore button, I can simply do a capital B and a capital B here. And we don't need to change the text of it because we simply have a prompt, and it says that this is excessive. No. Let's run this and see what happens. No, semicolon here, semicolon here. Run this again. Let's see some examples of on click. Okay, so why are we even having this thing? We have a button in our first fragment, right? And in the button, there is this on click that is there. So what they are doing is, oh, so let me just move it back, right? And here I just need to add a new. So new view dot on click listener and view dot not here. We were looking at here, right? So they have this inside on view created first thing, right? So we have is on create only. Set on click listener, new view listener, and then they are creating an override inside it. So let's try to do that as well. Okay, we don't need that. I think we don't need this as well. We don't need this. And we need a new view dot on click listener. Let's cut this out for now. Okay. Okay, so I just copied the syntax that was there on top, and this time it is not giving me any errors. So let's try to run this. The app is crashing. Where did we create that switch from? So we created this switch from here, and here in the activity, Okay, I got it. So I need to remove this from here. Not just that, but I think I need to remove this entire thing because it is getting executed before the screen is being displayed, so it is not able to find that, right? Because we are doing it on create options menu, right? So once the options menu is created, once the option menu is created, then we need this entire thing, right? Let's try to run this now. And I think we again encountered some type of an error. What is the error this time? So it is not able to find our menu switch. We are following this one, right? On create options menu, inside this, it is first finding the menu item, then it is finding the switch. We directly found the switch. r.id.menu switch, right? He's finding r.id.menu switch, which was this one. Now, if you look at our layout menu, then we already. Why is he not selecting it directly? Is this a thing that I first have to select the menu item, then the linear layout, and then my this is my menu route. Okay, let's just copy this thing. Okay, so let's go into our main activity, right? And here, let's copy and paste that up. So we need to import the linear layout, I guess. We do an alt enter here, and it is imported. So uh, now our menu item should start with a switch item, right? So if I go into my menu, the ID switch item exists here, right? Then we need the menu root, this exists and this exists, right? So now we have our switch compat, right? And since we have our switch compat, let's get rid of this and now try to run our code. So instead of switch button, I should have done a menu switch here. Okay, so the application is now running fine. So earlier I think that just because I was directly trying to find that switch compat, it wasn't working. Now if I select it, the application has moved to a dark theme, but it is not coming back to the light theme. Okay, I think I know why this is happening. So in my manifest, in my Android manifest, I have selected to do Android here. So in my themes.xml, let's just get rid of this style first for the time being. Right, let's try to rerun the application. So this is our to do Android theme that is there, and it is not toggling back to the light theme right now. And one of the reasons why I see that, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but this variable that I'm creating is night mode on. I'm not changing it to true, right? So if night mode is on, this is not going to be the case initially since it is false. So here I have to change my is night mode on is equal to boolean dot true. Why is it giving me an error? Do I again have to write boolean or something? It shouldn't be, right? And here it is going to become false, right? So is night mode on 0 is equal to boolean dot false, right? So now I think it should work fine, right? If I toggle first, then it is taking me to the dark theme, but the theme is changing. Okay, I think I need to take this and move this up, right? And I need to take this and move this up. So the theme is changing, but the toggle is not. I'm not sure what sort of a bug is this because I mean, if you look at it, what exactly is happening, if you try to look at it, then when we are selecting the dark theme, right, it is converting to dark theme, but it is not like moving it, in the dark theme zone, right? I mean, the toggle is not turning on. When I click it again, then the toggle turns on, and now when I move it to light theme, the toggle starts from uh, but then I mean, okay, okay, okay. So, is night mode on false and then is night mode on true? I guess one more thing that we need to look at is that when we come here, if I do an Android here, okay, so it is changing the theme. Let's again take a look at this answer that we are following. So in our menu, we have selected shows as action as always, right? And the layout is menu layout, right? Everything looks fine. Here, I mean, we have the color and all that. The Android text is off. This is for text view, and for switch, this is the thing, right? And now you can detect the switch click callbacks and change the description accordingly as below, right? So get menu inflator, this was already there. We have already done this. We are not talking about the text here. Then we have our I think instead of that, we need to try this one. compound button dot on checked change listener, right? Something like this. So let's go to our main activity again and change this to the one that we copied from there. And we need to import this class, right? And now rerun this. We're going to get an error which says that is not abstract and does not override extract method. Okay, so instead of creating a boolean here, what they are doing is they have a completely different override method, right? Which is this one, right? And inside this, they are using is checked variable, right? So we can also like use the is checked variable. I'm going to delete this. Maybe on click didn't existed in that thing, right? So I'm going to copy and paste that. And instead of is night mode on, I'm going to do an is checked here. I'm going to do, I would remove the zero, right? I don't need to set the value because now I'm getting the value from what? Removing this, how does it create an error in the entire code? Let's just see what the error is. So it should have been set on checked change listener, right? So set on checked change listener. Now if I refresh this and run this, I have a dark theme. The application did change to dark theme, but what exactly happened? So if checked, okay, so the conditions are reversed right now. So if it is checked, then we want to, if it is checked, then we want to switch this to yes, and if it is not checked, then we want to switch it to no. Right? Let's play this again, and this time when I'm toggling it, it is changing to dark theme. Something is not happening right. Change, switch, compat, value, Android, Java. Programmatically change the state of the switch. So we just need to do a switch and then set checked, right? So in our case, it is menu switch, right? And we are going to do a set checked on it, and this is going to be true, right? And in this case, it is going to be false. Let's just manually tell it what to do, right? Instead of relying on it doing this thing, let's just manually do it, right? False. So let's refresh this now, and our dark theme is coming up, but the switch is not changing. Why is it not? It is loading the theme, but the switch is resetting along with it. So this is a bug, right? I mean, in his use case, he was just changing the text, right? He was just changing the text from on to off, right? But in our use case, we don't want to change the text, but we are actually changing the uh, night mode if it is yes or not, right? Something like that. So, mm, what should we do in this case? How should we resolve this? App compat delegate dot mode night yes, mode night no. Okay, so after before switching to the night mode, if let's say before switching to the night mode, if I do this, then does that work? So it first toggles and then switches. No, it resets. So basically set default night mode changes switch value Android. That's a problem, right? So string key light equals light, and then night mode on no. So it says that if I do a super dot recreate, then that might work. Let's comment this and this for now, and let's try the super dot recreate. Now the recreate is giving me an error which says that rename reference. If the first method does not work, do the following. Get activity dot finish, get activity intent, start activity intent. So let's try this intent thing because that is clearly not working out for us. I'm not sure what an intent is. He's uploaded half written solution. Let's just call the recreate, not super dot recreate. See if that works. Okay, so the application opened up, but the toggle still doesn't work. And now it's not even changing it. Let's not. So this guy has shown an working example as well. In the meantime, you guys can also start, you know, to look for a solution. Maybe if you're able to find a solution, then just share the link with me. I'll try it out. Okay, this looks like a good place. I acknowledge and agree. Okay, so this looks like the official GitHub. issue for this thing. Might find something here. The link is broken. Apply dark mode without recreating your app. So this is something that might help. No, not a good solution. It is basically resetting the switch value, right? If we go here, then you turn it on and it doesn't turns on, but now since it is on, it will just turn it on. Now if I turn it off, then it resets it. And if I turn it on again, then it resets it but doesn't move the switch. So it is basically not resetting it is basically resetting it. This basically resets the switch. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this thing, and since it is recreating the whole thing, right? So in the on create, right, what we can do is after this, let's again try to select our element, right? And this menu without waiting for the change, I mean, let's add the code here, right? So here let's do uh menu switch dot, since there is a function called set checked, there should be a function called get checked as well. Nope, get the value of the, no, so we need to get the value of the theme, right? How to detect if night mode is on, right? So basically let's copy this code up, right? We don't want to have this case. We don't need the case for no, right? We only need one case, right? Switch. So get context is something that is giving error. What is the error here? Get context and there is no get resource there. Okay. Okay, so configuration is fixed. And if the UI night mode is on, right? So if the night mode is on, then we are going to set the value to true, right? Otherwise, we want to set the value to false, right? So let's do this manually now. I know it's not a good solution, but I mean, rather than wasting time on this bug, let's see if this works. So on the options menu get created, we deducted that this is probably, recreating the whole thing. It is probably recreating the entire, screen that was there in front of us. And since it was recreating it, it was resetting the switch that was there. So, I mean, since it is resetting the switch, then the only conclusion is that since it is recreating that, then that means that this function is also getting called again. And if this function is getting called again, then it means that in this function itself I can just check what mode is on, and based on that I can set the value of my switch, right? So that is what I did. Now this for some reason doesn't works again, but since it is recreating the whole thing, then I probably should be able to move it here, right? And I need to get my menu switch variables as well. So let's see if, although I mean, since that on create probably doesn't creates the menu by the time this on create is called, but let's just give it a try, right? Let's just see if this works. So it says that menu won't be available here. It won't be available. Right, so that means that our switch, or what we can do is we can force it to recreate, right? We can force it to recreate the scene. And if it is going to recreate it, then it is going to call that up, the switch statement that we wrote above, right? So let's build this and run this again. Have I like done the wrong values or something? I those were the right values. Something happened. I mean, now it is not switching. So by default, okay, now it is not switching. So something happened, right? We have a movement in our code, which is a good thing, right? So something is working now, right? Not entirely, but it is, doing something. And this is what we needed. So now, if let's say I select the dark theme, then also it remains closed. And if I select light theme, then also it remains closed. And it is not even switching back to light theme. It is not even switching to the light theme now. And one of the reasons is that this is stuck here, right? Okay, so I think what is happening here is that this recreate function, when this is called, not the UI mode, I think it should have been just mode night no and yes, right? I think I should have checked the app compat I should have checked the app compat delegate value. App compat delegate is on Android Java. You can get the current code using the following, and he's again using get resources and then get configuration and then UI mode and then and configuration UI mode night mask. Then he has written cases. Okay, so this is also a way. So what they're doing is he's creating an integer with default night mode. So we create an integer with default night mode, right? And then we check if that default night mode value is equal to night mode yes. If it is, then we want to switch to true, and else we want to switch to false, right? So this is something that should work. I'm going to comment the switch statement for now. Hopefully this will work. Yes. So when I turn it on, it is Let me show you here. So running the application again. I mean, let's just run the application again. When I'm turning it on, it is now setting it to on, and when I'm turning it off, it is now setting it to off, right? So I think Sarthak said that let's stick with it and let's write the text and all that stuff. So finally it is working, and I'm going to stay on the stream through my mobile phone and we can chat a little bit, but I'm going to take a short break and so should you. So I'll see you after a break of 5-10 minutes, something like that, right? So stay on the chat. I'm going to come to the chat now and I'm going to chat with you guys. So let's see each other in 5 minutes. Okay, guys, so we are back, and the last thing that we built was this, where our theme was changing at least from a dark theme to a light theme, and the toggle is working fine. So this was the last thing that we built, right? So just give me 1 second. Let me. Okay, got it. Just came back. Is the stream ending? No, stream is not starting. Are you going to complete the full project today only? I'll try my best. You should do learn by doing projects and live streams only. It helps us to learn things and also you get help in middle about the problem. Yes, I'll continue doing live streams. I think this is a good way of staying authentic as well because a lot of people say that you must be doing some Google searches or studying from somewhere and you're not sharing, so everything is front of you, right? Whatever I'm doing, whatever is happening. Sarthak's, I'll just answer Sarthak's question because I got a phone call during the break, so I wasn't there on the chat. I'm in fourth semester, know some open source and DSA, also trying out freelancing and marketing domain. How should I proceed further? Might be out of topic here, but would love to get your advice. So, Sarthak, I guess that if you're freelancing, you can merge the two skills. I mean, explore the open source a little bit, right? Get into some tech stack, build some technical skills as well. And in marketing domain, you can learn a little bit of digital marketing since you're already freelancing and in marketing domain. So you can get into digital marketing as well, and then you can offer two services via freelancing. Maybe you can do web development as well as digital marketing, right? Setting up uh, all the things that are there for digital marketing. uh, your voice is less. Is it better now? Is my voice better? Is my voice better or is it still less? Yeah, so I mean you can try a little bit of freelancing, and along with freelancing you can learn a bit of web development, get into digital marketing. I think these two club together really well, so that is there, right? Now just to like give you a quick brief about what we have done up until now. So I mean we just created the switch, right? And for this switch we first created a layout for our this top bar that is there. So we created a layout, and then in our menu underscore main dot xml we created an item, right? Using this layout main that we created, and that is for switch item. That entire item is called as switch item, right? And in the switch item, what we did was that we created a text view which is displaying the text here, dark theme, right? And if it is off, then obviously it is light theme. If it is on, if you toggle it on, then it is dark theme, right? So we created this text and then there is this toggle. Then what we are doing is that in our main activity, as far as I understand right now, this on create is when the application gets created, when the main activity gets created, but still the menu doesn't get loads until then, right? So there's this another public boolean that is there, which is on create option menu, which means that this is when the option is getting created and this function will be fired as soon as the menu is created, right? And inside this what we are doing is we are first finding the menu item that is there and finding our switch inside it. First we are looking for the menu item, looking for an ID that is switch item, right? So if again I take you to my menu main, then here I've given the ID of switch item, right? Then after that we are finding a menu root, right? Which is the item dot get action view dot find view by ID, which is menu root, right? So this means that the layout that we are using inside this, we are looking for a menu root, which is this ID that I'm giving to my linear layout, which is this time vertical, sorry, this time horizontally, layouting things, right? And finally, in our main activity, we are then looking for menu switch, which is naturally our switch, right? Menu switch, right? So this is what we have done, and after that, I can get rid of this code now, right? So after that, we created a set for on the menu switch. We created a function to listen to set on checked change listener, right? So whenever uh, the checked status of the switch is changed, it is going to listen to those changes, right? And when it listens to those changes, inside it we have place this on check change listener from compound button, right? And then we are creating our function that as soon as the check status is changed, then we are first finding the value of it, right? And we are saying that if it is checked, right? If let's say it is already checked, then that means that our dark theme was used. And since our dark theme was used, we are setting our night mode to yes, right? So when we check it, when it moves from off to on, right? As soon as we check it, it means that we want to apply the dark theme, right? So we're setting our theme to mode night yes, right? And similarly, if it is not checked, if is checked is false, right? That means that from it was on earlier, now we have changed it to off. It is the updated value of the on check, right? So since we have turned it off, then we are also, setting the mode to night mode to no, right? And finally, I mean, I realized that this app compact delicate dot set default night mode, what it was doing was it was restarting the entire thing. It was restarting my application with the new colors, with new everything and stuff like that, right? So since it was restarting everything, I concluded that this on create must be getting restarted again, and this on create option must be getting recreated again, right? And here I was trying to change the value of the switch as well, but since it was restarting, it was setting the switch value by default to off, right? Even when I'm turning on my write mode, it is setting it to off, right? So that was a bug that was there. So since it was recreating everything, I know that my on create is getting recreated again. I know that my on create options menu is getting recreated again. Then what I thought of was that what if I try to find this mode that is there, right? So that's what I exactly did. I s- uh, found the mode that was there, app compat delegate dot get default night mode, right? This gives me the mode that I'm currently using, and I stored it in a variable, and then I compared it, right? Then I have a simple if else condition. If my night mode is equal to night mode yes, that means if the night mode is yes, then I want my switch to be true, right? Then I want my switch to be on, otherwise I want it to be off, right? So this gives us the desired result of if I'm switching it on, then it is restarting to off again, even after changing the theme. But since I have that condition there, then it is manually, turning it on. And if I switch it off, then it works perfectly, right? So this is what we did up until now. Now let's go back to our browser on our Xkelly draw. So introduce a toggle to change the theme. This is something that we just did, right? So let's discuss what we want to do next after this, right? So let's copy and paste it here, right? And what to do when you get stuck and do not find solution of some error, then how to not get frustration. Just go for a walk, go for a 5-10 minutes of walk, right? And come back to it with a clear mind without any frustration and things like that, and just restart your research about it, right? The best thing about getting stuck in bugs and uh, researching about it and studying about it, the best thing about it is that you get to learn a lot when you're doing that, right? So I would have never understood that there is a way to recreate this entire application as well, or there are some functions that recreates the entire scene that is in front of us. I would have never understood that if I didn't research and spent that much amount of time with the bug that got stuck with my theme, right? So rather than getting frustrated, it's a learning opportunity in front of you. Think of it as a learning opportunity and think of it as a challenge that this is something that I want to solve today, right? And then stick to it. And sometimes, the bugs are long enough. Might have, if this bug was any critical, or if it was, something that I couldn't solve in today's stream, then it could have been a case where I couldn't solve it in today's stream. Maybe I spent 6, 7 hours trying to solve this bug and still couldn't get it. So in that case, I would have closed the stream and tried it again tomorrow on the stream, right? And yeah, I mean, it's just that you need to, keep trying until you get it. Keep studying until you get it. And as much as you like, the more research you do to solve it, the more, better you are going to get with a particular thing. So my comfort level with Java and Android is a lot more than compared to how it was before, right? So now in the application, the next thing that we want to do is we want to, uh, delete this button. We don't want this floating button, or yeah, I guess uh, we shouldn't use the floating button, right? Because the thing is that the floating button appears in all the screens, right? So in our second screen as well, it is going to appear there. So let's get rid of this button, this floating button, and then use this next button. Maybe place this next button, here at the corner, and then proceed from there, right? So let's come back to our first fragment in its XML, right? So in the first fragment, we see that this is our main button that we want to move at the bottom place, right? So let's write that down. This is our next task that is there. Get rid of the floating button and move the button in first fragment screen to bottom right. Right. So this is what we want to do. This is our next step, right? So again, I mean, getting rid of the FAB button is pretty easy, but I mean, I am still going to keep it around for a bit, right? Let's copy this and let's paste it in our content main, not content main, in our activity main here, right? And let's see the differences between the two. So this is an FAB, a floating action button, right? It has an ID. We have an ID as well. It has a layout width of wrap content and layout height of wrap content. We have the same, right? Then the layout gravity is set to bottom and end, right? So I think this is missing, and this must be something that is, placing the button at bottom end, right? So let's add this here, and we can add the margins as well, margin end and margin bottom, that is there. So let's add the margin end as well as the margin bottom. And then finally, I mean, we have this dialog email, which must be the icon IC, which is icon, right? So we don't need to mess with the icon. Apart from that, we have our text, which is going to be next. So instead of next, I want this to be instead of next, I want this to be add to do item, right? And then there are no constraints here, right? So let's just get rid of this, right? And let's now cut this from here because it is not meant to be here, right? And take it back to our first fragment first screen, and let's replace this with the new button that we have, right? So it is giving us an error. Okay, so the missing constraints we need to remove from here as well. Maybe the constraints were needed. Let's keep this button for now and let's paste our button below it. Right. And Wait, if I get rid of this, let's just add the constraints, right? Let's just add the constraints and keep the constraints this one also for parent, something like that, right? And let's now get rid of this button, right? And let's get rid of these constraints as well. And I think one thing that we are missing out on is that we need to add a linear layout here, right? A parent layout that is there that can hold the two things together. So we are again going back to the first fragment and I'm going to introduce a layout here. I don't want any padding or anything per se. I It is going to be not menu root, but it is going to be, I don't even want to give it an ID, right? And let's just give a closing linear root here, right? And move our text view and the button inside it. And now you can see that the error is no more, right? I mean, we don't see any errors anymore. So I guess I can get rid of these constraints as well now, right? And let's run this application, see what happens to our application now. So our add to do item button is now at the bottom, right? Now only we need to get rid of the FAB button. So again, going into the activity main, let's comment this out. We don't need this anymore, right? And I guess since we commented it out, we need to remove the call to action button for it as well. So the current call to action was replace with your own actions. So if I search replace with your own actions, then it is available here, right, in my binding. So I can just comment this out and run this application and see how it changes. Right, so it looks fine, but my button still needs, something. So margin end and margin bottom is 16 each. If let's say I reduce this margin and okay, so this was FAB margin, right? I don't need FAB margin. I'm going to do a 0 DP here, see what happens, right? So some margin at the bottom, but no margin at the end of it, which means the right side of it. Or we can just have it centered, right? I mean, why should we have it on the left? The button should be on the center, right? So I think the this gravity would then become center center on the horizontal way, right? And we don't need any margins per se. So let's run this and let's check out how it looks in the design view, right? Why is it coming up like this? So why is this button not centered? Okay. So I think I got why it is not coming up like that. Right, it has something to do with the linear layout that we are using. Right, so the linear layout currently is making it vertical, right? So we need to change the orientation of this layout, right? We need to make it, create columns vertically. What was the call? linear layout vertical. So Android and then orientation is going to be vertical. That is the key value pair that we need here. Vertical, right? And if we, let's say, want to keep the button at the bottom end itself, and then I add this line here, then what happens? Okay, so now I guess the button is coming up at the very bottom end of it. Not at the bottom, but at certainly at the end of it. So we can make this 16 dp here, right? Rerun the application, see if the margin comes up, right? So I guess we'll just keep it at the center and get rid of these. Play it again. So let me add another linear layout here, right? And close this one as well. Right, and let's move the button out to this one, right? And then let's run this. Okay, let's just view the design of it. Where's the button? Where did the button go? Let's open the code, add to do item button, and this is the linear layout, the first one. Then we have another linear layout. I think this outer linear layout is this inner linear layout is matching the parent, right? Which shouldn't be the case for height at least. Let's give it a margin bottom and see if that works. Padding bottom, sorry. Padding bottom, and let's give it a padding of 100 dp. See if that brings up our button in the frame. Still doesn't work. Right, so let's go back to the code. Wrap content and text view, then button and then linear layout. So I guess in that this scenario, what is happening is that it is taking the entire width, entire height of the screen. So let's check what are the different values for this. Okay, let's just say that I want the height to be wrap content, right? And I want this gravity to be at the center and bottom, right? So I want it at the bottom of it. Okay, so now the button is coming up, right? And let's take a look at the design as well. So this hello is only taking up this much, and then this add button is only taking up this much. Okay, let's go back to the code. Let's get rid of this for now. Or let's add multiple text views like this, right? Let's remove its ID and let's add multiple of them. See what happens then. So the gravity doesn't have to be centered here, right? I mean, we don't want the gravity to be in the center. That might have been one issue. Okay, so now it looks fine, right? We can get rid of hello view, hello world that we created. Now the only thing is that we want the button to be sticking at the bottom, right? Not at the top, right? So the height is going to be match parent. Then for this, the height is going to be wrap content. Okay, so instead of linear layout, we could have used a relative layout, I guess. So let's change this linear layout to relative layout. Let's change this linear layout. Let's keep it linear layout only. And let's keep the height. Okay, so inside we have a relative layout here, right? And in the relative layout, we have a linear layout inside which we have a text view and then we have a button. So the idea is that we want to leave some space for the button at the bottom so that this linear layout doesn't takes the whole thing and the text comes up on top of the button when the screen fills up with to dos, right? We don't want that. So we want this relative layout, or I guess I should keep this as linear layout here and change this to relative layout. Right, now if I reload this, my button is not sticking to the bottom of it for some reason. So the height is matching the parent, and here as well it should match the parent. But then the button goes out of the screen, right? The button goes out of the screen because it is matching the parent. What if I bring the button inside my relative layout and then at the bottom? Center horizontal and at the bottom. Okay, if this was linear layout, then it would have not come on top of each other, right? If I make this a linear layout, then it will come one after the other in a linear way. Got it. So now I want to stick this button at the very bottom, right? So the height is matching parent, but the button is not moving to the bottom. So if I give a Android and then margin bottom of 16 dp as it was earlier, and if I reload this now, then again it is not coming out as intended. So I want the match parent in linear layout it is, and then we have text view which is wrapping the content, and then we have button which is wrapping the content. So let's get rid of the parent linear layout because we don't need it anymore in that case. Fix the indentation quickly. Run this. Should give us the same result as before. Yeah, same result. Now in our activity main.xml, it had layout gravity set to bottom and end, right? So here in the first fragment, if I'm setting my gravity to bottom and end, then it is not moving to the bottom for some reason. It is not moving to the bottom, but earlier we got it at the bottom. It has moved to end, but it is not moving to the bottom. Right, and I think I'll have to take a look at the design as well. Right, so let's take a look at the design. So this is hello world. This is the code. If I keep the button outside the linear layout, then I guess it would come at the bottom. So now it should come at the bottom because linear layout is going to take the parent's height this time. No, it is coming on top of it. So this should have been relative layout, I guess. If it is relative, linear layout, inside the linear layout, we'll again create this text view. Let's just comment it out for now. Let's just focus on the button, or let's keep it and focus on the button. The button is giving an error for some reason. Let's move the button into the linear layout only. Right, and reload this. It is coming, but it's not moving to the very bottom of the screen. I guess fragment first, go to the button, try to move it to the bottom. Okay, we have already have a margin bottom there. Let's get rid of this. Let's see. It is going to move a little down, but not as much as we want. So what I want to do is I want the outer linear layout to not take the full height of the screen. I want it to take the full height minus some dp of stuff. And I want to cut my button from here, move it down to here. So it is going to more or less give me the same result. But the button is gone because the inner linear layout is taking the entire height this time. So if we do a wrap content here, then button is going to move up because it wraps the content in that very small space. Presence, minimap, IC launcher, chat photo, numbers, presence. Is there any way I can give the height of it to be 90% or something? Can I give it in percentages? Fill parent vertical text view string long text max lines 500. if I do a fill parent here and I do a fill parent here and I try to run this, is it going to leave some space? No. Okay, so there's a linear layout and I want the inner linear layout to take a height in percentage. How do I achieve that? They're using 0 dp for some reason, and this straight out gives an error as well. I'm not sure what exactly are they doing, but this doesn't make sense. Okay, so here I can do a relative layout, right? And here for the height of this, I can give about 50 dp, something like that. Let's try to run this up, right? And here I need to change that to linear layout only. And layout width, layout height, and can I do fill parent here? Mhm. Isn't working. If I don't give it a height, that's an error. It's a required attribute. Okay, so they are adding a weight which is acting as a height, I guess. That is what they are doing. So if let's say I want this to take a weight of The general idea is correct, but would weight 10 mean that? So I need to give it a weight of 90, is that it? So overall, if let's say I give it a weight sum, Android weight sum is equal to 100, right? Then I am going to give this a weight layout weight, right? So I am going to say Android and then layout underscore weight is equal to 90, right? And then I give this a layout weight of 10. If let's say I do this and now I try to run my application. Okay, so now it is coming up fine, but I need to say wrap content here. I run this again. It is taking the full width. I need to reduce this to, let's say, let's just check the design of this, right? So this button, okay, something got messed up. Instead of 90, I can make this 95 and I can make this as 5. So basically half the height, right? Let's try to run this. And okay, so the button now looks a bit fine, right? We can give it a margin bottom of 16 dp, which was looking cool. And let's say that we increase the size, text size to 25 dp, right? And view it now. So the text looks bigger. Now let's say I increase it to 50 this time first. What I want to check is that if let's say I have a lot of text on my screen, will this button get on top of it or will things like that happen or not? I want my alignments to be good. That should be enough. Yeah. So basically, I mean, it is never going to get on top of it. If let's say I add one more text view here because it was displaying exactly 10, then I can see that the 10 is there. Now, one thing that I want to add here is that I want to add a scroll view here. There must be a scroll view. So this is going to be match parent and this is going to be match parent, right? And inside the scroll view, let me move this these text views inside the scroll view to see if I can scroll through them or not. So that would mean that our alignments are now perfectly fine and we just need to code the functionality. Let's run this. Again, we are getting, I think we got an error or something. Okay. Scroll view can host only one direct child. So what do I add inside a scroll view? Which view do I add inside the scroll view? Scroll view can host only one direct child. Okay, so it says that inside this I need to create another linear layout matching the parent's height and width and orientation to be vertical again, right? And then inside this, if I move all my text views, then it would be resolved. So scroll view and then linear layout and then scroll view, something like this. If I run this, then I can see that my this is scrollable right now, right? So our problem is resolved. Our structure is ready for the page, and we got rid of the fab button that was there, right? We got rid of the floating action button that was there. Plus, we have our add to do item at the bottom of it, and we are displaying our text, which is also changing the theme as well, right? So a lot of things are done, right? Going to escalator, move the button of first fragment to the screen, and then that is done. Right, now let's copy and paste this again. Check out the next steps. So the next step is that currently, I mean, our application automatically moves us to the next screen, which is add to do, right? And what we want to do is we want to create a form there, a simple form with a single input field that is there, which is going to take some text, right? And then an add button, right? So another button, a previous button is already there, so we're just going to change the name of that button and the functionality that that on click would have for that button. So we are just going to change that and fetch the value of the input field that we're getting and try to save it in an object, right? So let's quickly do that. So let me write that down. Input field in second fragment, update the button in the second fragment, save the to do inside a hash map, right? Something like this. So create an input field in second fragment, update the button in the second fragment. So all of the things are written. Now we need to create an input field there in our second fragment. So let's come to the second fragment now. Fragment second.xml, right? Again, it has a text view and a button view. So the first thing that we are going to change is we are going to add a linear view, linear layout here, which is going to match parent in width and height. And the orientation of this is going to be vertical, right? So we added a linear layout. Inside the linear layout, now we first need an input field, right? So input field in Android XML. You'll find something for this. Edit text, for example. How do I get a sample code of edit text? Okay, something like this. Something like this. So in the edit text for the ID, we are going to do a to do item. This is going to be our ID. Then it is going to, width wise, it is not going to fill parent, or it can fill the parent, but we can give the some margin on left and right, so it will automatically contract, right? So Android margin left can be 20 dp and Android layout margin right can be 20 dp, right? Something like that. Then we want to add a hint to it as well, which is going to be the placeholder, I guess. So the hint can be add your to do item, and it is going to be of type text, and there's no send button for this. I mean, there's no action on this yet, right? So let's save this. Let's move to our add to do item, and we can see that our input field is getting created where we can type whatever we want to, which is nice, right? So we need to give some padding and all inside here. So I guess instead of doing this, what I can do is I can add some padding here on the thing, right? So I can give some padding on the top, and I can give it to be 100 dp, right? And I can give some padding left to be 20 dp, right? And I can same give the Android padding right to be 20 dp, right? Something like that. Let's refresh this, and yeah, so we can see that it comes in center. It looks decent, right? I guess I'm not sure if we can give a border as well. Okay, never mind that. So it looks decent now, and I can add this is a to-do item. I'm writing some random text to. Okay, so it basically works, right? So now we need the button inside it. So for the button, again we are going to copy this button up, right? We are going to get rid of this text view because we don't need it anymore, and we are going to add it below the edit text, the button. Let's Okay, we are going to get rid of the things as well, and we are getting the button, right? So for the button, I guess I can add some margin top here, margin top to be about 25 dp, I guess should be fine. And I need to add some gravity here. Gravity is basically your alignment. I want it horizontally centered, right? And if I refresh this, then my previous button should now come in the center. It's not coming in the center, but what if instead of this I add the gravity to here, parent, right? Okay, so center horizontal is what we were looking for. If I reload this now, then looks good, right? So now instead of previous, we are going to display add item here. Although I mean I should, include these in the strings.xml that is there, but I'm not doing it. I'm aware about it. It's not a good way to ignore that file and add the text like this, but I mean, uh, it's fine. I mean, we already spent a lot of time in this stream. It's what's 3.5 hours. So I mean, I'm not spending that much time doing petty things. Right, so add item, right? So now we need to like have the action. So since I mean this is the second fragment, I guess its action is going to be in the second fragment as well. In the second fragment, we see this button second on click listener, right? So it is listening to it, right? It is already listening to it. And now one thing that we want to do is, the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a dictionary, right? So dictionary, and we are going to call it to do items is equal to um what? Should be an array, right? Sorry, this should have been an array. How do you create a new array in Java, man? Okay, so list string. Is it saying that I need to import all of this? Okay, alt enter and alt enter, right? So instead of list, we are going to call it to do items, right? And then mm, here on click, we are going to get rid of this for the time being. And we are going to say that as soon as that button is clicked, we first want to fetch the value of that input field. So I guess for fetching the value, we are going to use the same method as we used in our uh, main activity.java. So first fragment.java, sorry, main activity dot, sorry, our second fragment, I'm using an edit text here, right? So in this scenario, I mean, the first thing that I would want to do is I would want to go into my second fragment and first type edit text and then say, uh, what was it? My to do item is equal to edit text dot, however we are doing in the main activity, dot find item, and then find view by ID and then directly the ID, something like this, right? So we want to do this, and here edit text and then find view by ID. Okay, should I put a dot here? No. View dot find view dot ID. And the ID that we gave it was our to do item, to do underscore item. So we're gonna copy this and we are going to paste it here, add a semicolon, and then how do I fetch the value of this? To do item, I'm going to write an 80 here, which means edit text, and then I'm going to do a string, and then to do item is equal to my to do item et dot get text dot to string, right? So now it means that to do item is now the string that we inserted, right? So we only need to now put it inside the array, right? These to do items that we are creating. So one main problem that I'm seeing is that this second fragment screen that I'm creating, right? Or let's just see, I mean, when that comes. So to do item, now I just need to put it in that array, right? So I'm going to, how to add item in array list. I so it's a dot add method, right? So we created the item as to do items dot add, and then to do item, and then how do you print in Java? Not script, just Java. Println. Println is showing an error. Create method println. What the system or dot out dot something. Okay, so system output it is. Got it. System dot out dot println, and then I'm going to print the array that we are creating. So to do items, right? So now let's see how this works. And then I want to navigate it back to my first screen as well. So let's just get rid of this. I mean, let's just bring it back. So I am navigating back to my first screen, but after doing all of that, right? So we loaded this, we add a to do item, we say that this is a to do item, and we add item, and our app got crashed. Get text on a null object reference. Why is it a null reference? Edit text view dot find item to do item. So I mean, is it not to do item? Is it something else? It is to do item. Add your to do item, type text, id to do underscore item. Why is it breaking? I'm not able to understand. Is it a small bug or something? not console, system dot out dot println edit text. Sorry, not edit text, to do item 80. Right, and let's comment all of this for now. Let's run this. System output is null. Okay, I think I must have made a mistake somewhere while trying to find the value of edit text. Cannot find symbol, find view by ID. Okay, so this should have a get view dot find view by ID. So this is the application. Now if I type something here and I do it, then okay, so now it is working. I can just uncomment this and see if it is outputting the to do items or not. So add a to do item, to do item 1, add item. Okay, so we got our to do item 1. Then let's add one more, to do item 2, add item, and now it just says to do item 2. Yeah. So basically the issue is that since we are initializing this to do items in our second fragment, right? As soon as the second fragment navigates back to the first fragment and then comes back, this variable is getting reinitialized, right? So we are losing its value. Now one thing I can think of how to solve this problem is to move this variable in my main activity, right, somewhere here, right, and then coming back to the second fragment, I can simply do my to do items is equal to and then get it from there, right? So main activity dot to do items. What? Okay, so I had to make it static, is that it? So now if I run my application and if I add a to do item, to do item 1, add item. So it says to do item 1 in an array here, right? And then the next thing is I want to add another item and say to do item 2. If I add item here, then okay, both my items are getting added, right? So I guess that is there. So save the to do in a hash map. So not in a hash map, we saved it in an array list, right? But we completed create an input field, we did this, update the button, we did this, and then we did this, right? So I mean, as you already noticed, I'm doing everything step by step, right? I'm just planning out for the next few steps, implementing them, and then thinking what should I do next to complete my application, right? So Yeah. Now the only thing that remains is to take that array list, take the values out of that array list, display it, in the in on the screen, right? So now, I mean, I would very much like to give that part as an assignment of this video, right? Because I'm in no mood to code anymore. But I mean, if you guys are willing to take that up as an assignment, then fine. If not, then I mean, I'll try it out. So tell me in the chat what you guys want to do. Do you guys want to take that last task up as an assignment to display the values of the array list in as text views in the XML in the first fragment? Oh my God. I mean, you guys have been messaging since so long, but my chat was freezed. Let me quickly read the messages. Can you zoom a little bit? So, Gaurav, the problem is that I tried zooming in this multiple times, but Control plus Control Shift plus doesn't works on this. So, I'm not sure how to zoom this thing. And it was eating me out yesterday. I mean, I couldn't figure out it like I couldn't figure out how to zoom this thing. It's comparatively low here. My voice might be low. I mean, I'm not teaching right now, so I'm not, speaking in my usual voice. I'm just having a conversation right now, right? So it might be low because I wasn't speaking. I mean, I wasn't speaking with the intention to teach. I was half of the time I was talking to myself, right? Sarthak is giving me syntax of the array. Thanks. Bye, Big Samosa. Please check the array type. Awesome. Step by step process is awesome. We can do this as an assignment, and if we can cover it in the next live stream, I think we just have to loop through the array list and display it on the first page. Yes, so I mean, more or less, you just need to loop through the array and display it on the first page. One more thing that you can do is you can add the functionality to delete an existing to do or you know, give a checkbox to mark the to do as done or something like that. Something like that. I mean, we can do any of those things. And I'm not busy with my phone. I was just looking. I was just trying to figure out why I'm not receiving messages. So that is there. But yeah, uh, you guys can take it up as an assignment. See, I mean, one thing that we can do is, since the stream has already been almost 4 hours, one thing that we can do is that you can, check out. You can basically try this on your own, the rest of the thing, and maybe add some more functionalities like editing an existing to-do, deleting a to-do, or adding a checkbox to the to-do so that it marks it as done or things like that. You can, try out all that functionality. If let's say you're not able to, do it, if let's say a lot of you face issue in that, then obviously, I mean, you can reach out to me on Discord. I mean, since it is an assignment, then I would, urge you guys to, write the rest of the code, and even if you have to discuss it on our Discord server, and you can discuss it here in resources. You can discuss it in the assignments channel, which is here. Right. So in this assignments channel on our Discord server, feel free to discuss about this issue, and if a lot of you guys face this issue or none of you are able to complete it, then definitely, I mean, I'm willing to do another live stream where I'll cover the rest of it. And if you're able to do it, then fine. In the next live stream, we'll pick up some other project and some other tech stack, right? So we can do that. How are you able to code for so long? I started to slack on R2. Well, I still have to write a lot of code. I mean, the night is long. I mean, there's another project I'm working on, and I need to write that code as well. And plus, I need to do some gaming as well before that. My friends are continuously calling me. So, yeah, I mean, that is the sole reason why I mean, I'm not looking forward to continue this today, but otherwise, I mean, I would have definitely, continued this and finished it, even if it took 3, 4 more hours or something. But people won't be awake till then. I use Python for backend. I don't have much experience with Mongo per se or Node.js per se, and same goes for Next.js as well. I'm still learning Next.js. Not even learning. I mean, I haven't even started it. I just looked at the documentation, saw a few things, but I've not started coding in Next.js, and I've coded very less in Node.js as well. So that is there, but Python stack is strong for me. I mean, my Python stack is strong. Yeah, you can ask your questions from the community as well. I mean, it's not necessary that only I answer the questions. There are people who must be experienced in things like MERN stack and stuff, and they would be willing to answer. So let's do one thing. Let me just quickly write down the, things that are left, and you can take that up as an assignment, right? So just to like close this video now, close this live stream now. Let me just write the steps. So assignment steps. Right. So the first one is going to be to loop over the array list and display the to do items with some styling of course on fragment one. Right, that's one. The second task could be that add a checkbox next to the to do item. Right, add a checkbox to mark it as done or undone, something like that, right? And then you can have some additional task, right? I mean, these two are pretty necessary, but then you can have additional tasks where you can add the ability to edit or delete uh, to do item, right? Something like this. And I mean it's ever growing, right? I mean since we were building it step by step, you follow the first step, loop it over an array list and display your to do items. Maybe your next step is to add a checkbox. If you're not going with the additional task as well, then maybe you can introduce a database of some sort and store that array item in a database, right? You can perform the additional task as well to add the edit or delete functionality in your to-do item list, things like that. On top of that, you can grow it further. You can maybe create a login sign up or something. It's all about, breaking it down into steps and then performing one step at a time and sticking with that approach, right? Gradually, I mean, I literally have no experience with Java. Right, it's been many years since I last worked with Java. That's why I don't even know syntax of array list and things like that. Right. So I don't have experience with Java. I don't have experience with Android and stuff. And I mean, in this video, you must have seen the basic kind of errors I was getting stuck at and things like that. So it's simply because I don't have any idea about it. But the thing is that with each and every application that I build with this approach, it roughly took me about 4 hours to do this much, right? And in the middle of that, I took a 10-minute break as well. Maybe 10-15 minutes got wasted at doing something. Maybe I was scrolling through my phone or stuff, reading the chat or stuff like that, right? So roughly it took about 3.5 to 4 hours to, do what I did today. And I did it directly as a beginner's point of view, right? I didn't read any documentations, I didn't watch any Java tutorials, any Android tutorials or stuff like that. I did it completely as a beginner point of view, and in 3.5 hours, I'm able to achieve a result like this, right? I mean, this is not complete, this looks pretty bland, but at least, I mean, we can change the theme of the application, right? We can add a to-do item when we can, create the to-do item, and the only thing that remains is to display it here, right? Which again would have taken a maximum of half an hour or something, and we would have been through, right? So I mean, and just imagine the kind of confidence I'm having right now. If let's say I'm pursuing to become a Java developer or an Android developer or things like that, I would be relatively a lot more confident than what I was yesterday or what I was day before yesterday, because I actually built something today. I didn't just learn anything, I built something today, right? So just imagine the the gain that I had in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of confidence, and all in just 3-4 hours, right? Plus, I got to build something as well. I built something as well. I mostly work with Flask. Not, I mean, it's been time since I worked with Django, but I still know how Django works. Well, I mean, learning Linux has its own, getting comfortable with Linux and learning Linux has its own perk. I like always liked Linux, and in yesterday videos, I even told about, 3-4 instances where the knowledge of Linux and that thing actually helped me in learning and my career as well. For example, when I was building that mouse input script, the only reason why I knew that there's something known as init.d or there's something known as signals that I can utilize to, achieve that functionality of starting that application on startup and saving that data when it is shutting down. The only reason I was able to implement that functionality was because I knew Linux, right? And I was good with it. The only reason why I was, able to think about something like multi-threading while building that crypto trading bot was because I know Linux, right? I know how it works and things like that. So switching to Linux has its own benefits. If let's say you don't want to dual boot your system, you can still use a virtual machine so that even if you have 8 GB of RAM and you assign 4 GB of RAM to your virtual machine, when you're running your virtual machine, it is going to consume that 4 GB of RAM for your Linux and 4 GB of RAM for your Windows. But when your virtual machine is turned off, all the 8 GB is going to get consumed by your Windows, right? So you do something like that, or yeah, I've installed myself. I mean, I've dual booted my system right now. with Windows and Ubuntu. And long ago, I had triple booted system as well with Ubuntu, Windows, and Arch Linux. That was the time when I learned Linux, when I really learned Linux. It was in the initial phases of my learning path, before even that freelancing project that I talked about in my yesterday's video. So that is there. And yeah, so I mean, these are the tasks that you can take up, right? So loop over the array list and display the to-do items with some styling on fragment 1 and add a checkbox next to the to-do item to mark it as done or undone, right? So these are some of the tasks that you can take up. Additional tasks, you can add the ability to edit or delete. If you want to, then take the application further. It's completely up to you. Add a login, sign up, create groups, things like that, whatever you want to do, add a database. And for this assignment, you can use this assignments channel that is there on Virtual Tech School, right? So this assignments channel is simply going to, I mean, you can use it to discuss a particular issue that you're having in your application, right? And you can use it to send me screenshots of the work you have done for your mobile application, right? You can send me screenshots of your work, and you can help other people out who are asking for help. And if, let's say, a lot of you are not able to complete these assignments and steps, then in the next stream I'm going to complete this. If not, then we are going to build something else with some other tech stack, right? So I guess that's pretty much it for this video, this stream. That's pretty much it for this stream. I hope you learned something in this stream. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this stream. And stay safe, have a safe Holi, use organic colors, and I'll see you in the next video, which is probably going to be on CSS and media queries. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, peace.